Good evening, witches.
Hello, witches.
Happy Ostara.
Yes, happy Ostara. What a beautiful time of year.
Yes. We hope that you maybe possibly brought some flower crowns. You've got a drink for toasting. And we just want to say cheers to the season of Ostara. I know that it's a celestial event that is actually precisely at a time, but I don't play by those rules. I celebrate when I want to and when I have the time to. So if you don't want to play by those rules either, cheers again to that, because it's a season. It's never about just the day, right? There's so much pressure on it's today. You have to do something. Yeah. Not in my world.
No. Don't feel pressured. Don't feel pressured that you have to do it. Sometimes the days just don't line up with what's going on in our lives. And like Jamie said, this is a season.
Yeah.
So we can celebrate this.
Yes.
For the next 6 weeks.
Yes. So until fun, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Until April 30th / May 1st.
And this is such a beautiful time. I love spring. I've always loved spring.
Spring is great. Well, you used to live somewhere terribly cold.
I lived in Kansas City for 31 years. And boy, couldn't wait.
When spring was happening.
Couldn't wait for spring. I mean, the first little daffodils that would bloom. The daffodils sometimes would bloom in the snow, and there could be snow on the ground really this time of year, but the daffodils would bloom in my yard. And it's just, I remember the gladiolas blooming.
I don't even know what that is. I don't know what a gladiola is.
I don't think we can grow them here.
It's probably too hot. Yeah. For us, it's the palm trees are blooming and the bees are happy. We have other stuff too. But I just want to take a minute and say hi to Tracy and Selena and Nanika.
Hey, we haven't seen you for a little while.
Hi, Jenny. Len, Ashley. Hello. I love Ostara. It's definitely one of the first holidays that I learned about when I decided that I was leaning more towards witch rather than just pagan. Exploring all of the old holidays really got to me because I'm a science nerd, and the holidays basically follow events that really happen in nature. So this isn't built off of some falsehood of somebody, spoke to God and saw things in a mountain and whatever. This is real things. This was survival of the people that came before us. This was how they got along. This is how they knew how to serve. All of this was so important. And I loved connecting it back to, whatever ancestry line you have. Everybody all over the world had to know the weather and what was happening on Earth so that they could survive. And so when I look at Ostara, that is genuinely what I think of, is that people were so happy when Ostara hit, because it was things were starting to grow. The promise of, more food and the lush bounty was all there in front of their eyes. And I'm sure everybody just got really happy.
I bet they did, because they could open up the house and let the animals out, which they slept with in their homes.
They had to protect.
They had to protect them through the winter. So imagine that smell.
Well, that's why there's that thing called spring cleaning. Because if you're roosting with all of your animals all winter, you want that.
I can't imagine having a cow in my living room.
Oh, but I would love one. I don't know what I would do. Actually, I do know what I would do with its little manure patties, right? What did they call them in Kansas?
Cow patties?
Cow patties. You dry them and burn them. They were a source of fuel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
well,
I've never smelled one
reuse.
They reduce, recycle, reuse. Every single part had a purpose.
Well, and in ancient times or older times, even not even ancient, but as soon as little as 250 years ago, or even, every resource, they used every resource that they could. Nothing went to waste.
No.
Because
not like today.
Because it was hard to come by. All the things that they had, they really had to work hard for.
Yeah.
So they used everything.
Okay, this just reminded me of something. So, we're in Florida. We have a lot of sun, and we did have a true winter this year. We got into 30s and 40s, and it got really cold, and we were all concerned, and some people turned on their heat. I tried to just enjoy it and bundle up. So I started seeds probably back in February. We still had a lot of cold days. Some of them didn't make it, but 3 weeks ago, I started more seeds, and specifically catnip. Catnip is an herb that's used for beauty. And also I have 2 cats and they love it. If I leave it in the garden unattended, they will tear up the whole plant, lay all over it, break it all up, and there's nothing tomorrow. So I have to kind of keep it up and feed it to them like medicine. Otherwise they'll just eat it all. So today I tried to put my new little babies out into the fresh Florida sun. It burned them all up. All 6 of them. They're all like this. I came back after a couple hours and I was like, what?
No.
I know. I'm really sad. But
Bummer.
I mean, there's still time to plant stuff.
There was too much sun.
It's too much sun.
Too much sun
Yeah.
for them. They were not strong enough.
They were not strong enough to be in full sun for a couple hours. They wilted and died in just that amount of time. Sad. But one of the things that's really fun to do when we were kids is we used to put like beans and weird seeds and whatever into plastic bags that you wrap like a seed inside of a paper towel, put it in a plastic bag and just like leave it alone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you'd have sprouts
It
coming
would
out of it.
germinate. Yeah.
Why am I sitting here using those little things to poke in the dirt and all that?
Yeah,
I just
no,
should put
you
everything
just-
in that thing.
Yeah, you just put them in.
Yeah.
We used to do them in
Maybe
paper towels.
Yeah, wrap
paper
it in wet
towels.
paper towel
Yeah.
and put it in a baggie.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
that's
it
how I need to start my
germinate.
seeds. Yeah, I don't know. I'm disappointed, but now I have to start over. It's like 2 weeks lost. So I guess the reason I thought of that story is imagine if that was a food source and now we're 3 weeks behind on that crop. So what we think that we're going to have in the fall that we'll be able to harvest and store for the next winter, I just messed it up for everybody. Because somebody is not getting their potato stew or whatever we would be making. I don't know. So I'm not sure they would put me in charge of the gardening just yet. Even though I've been doing it a while, I still mess up. I can't help it. I think things want sun as much as I do. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yes, here you go. Take
Yes.
a sun bath. And then they're like, meh,
There is such
They
a
don't
thing
like
as
it.
too much sun.
too much sun.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Linda. Hey, Linda. We want to get into some Ostara stuff.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
that
think
time.
I think we should
Mhm.
talk about what this holiday is about. Like
Yeah.
this is about balance. You wanna
Yes.
start there.
Only because when we say balance, I think we started to talk about like it's an astrological thing. It's
It
something
an
that's
astro-
in the sky.
It is in the
Yeah.
sky. So
So-
who knows what's going on in the sky for Ostara?
Yeah.
What's the astrological event?
Why are we? Yeah. What does
Yeah.
Ostara mark the beginning of? Or
Uh-huh.
that's one part. And then what is actually happening on that day?
Yeah.
There's a word. It begins with an E. Anybody?
Anybody?
And welcome in Aries season.
Aries
Thank you,
season?
Tracy.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So all these things happen sort of at the same time.
Yeah, super cool.
Yes. So it's the equinox. And an equinox breaks down into meaning equal night and day is basically what it is. Thank you, Selena.
Yeah,
Yes.
Selena,
So the
Selena
equinox
gets a gold star or a golden egg.
golden egg. Hey. So we have 2 equinoxes every year. We have the spring equinox and the fall equinox. And that is basically when it is not the sun that is shifting. Remember that our planet is shifting. It's tilting towards and away from the sun. And that's what allows us to grow and get warmer weather and the snow recedes and all that good stuff. And then we get longer days. We get more sunlight hours than we do nighttime hours.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I love the nighttime too, but
Yeah.
when we have I just looked at Scotland for next month. Do you know the sun rises at 4:15 in the morning? It doesn't set till 9 p.m. I'm like, they really feel it.
Wow.
Florida, we're just it barely varies. We don't really have a true equal day and night very much. It's minimal change for us,
Yeah.
Really what sets us back is that daylight savings time. That's
Yeah.
what we feel. But for other places, especially the more north that you go, the earth really leans into getting that sunshine back, which is amazing. So that is what we're celebrating. We're celebrating the equinox, the sun's return, or the earth leaning into the sun. I'm like, hey, boo, I'm ready to grow some stuff, ready to get green. Like she's getting her tan on too.
Uh-huh.
So then that fits perfectly with balance because balance, night and day, equal parts, equinox,
Yeah.
equal parts. Okay. Now we wrote down some key points to make
Yep.
because, we always let our
Because
ideas run away with us.
yeah, we do. We talk.
Staying on track.
So this holiday is also about birth and rebirth.
Yeah.
Think of the daffodils that are blooming. My daffodils back in Kansas City that would bloom in the snow. right at this time.
So, and that would be a rebirth because they stay as a bulb in the ground and they come back. Whereas my poor little catnip seeds, they were birth and then they died. Like they made it to 3 weeks old. So they were just the birth and then you have the rebirth. So figuring out which part of your lives, like starting something brand new workout routine or redoing your room, something brand new, or like reinvigorating a plan that you have,
rejuvenation. So
yeah.
Another key about this holiday is growing in strength and rejuvenation. So it's about and fortifying yourself.
Yeah, and the growing in strength part is because the sun's power onto the earth is growing in strength as we lean into the sun. So that's why we're growing in strength. We're growing in that fire power, that element of action and movement and fertility and abundance and growth. And
it's interesting that it happens this time because Aries season, what's Aries season all about? Fire and get going and do stuff. All the things we've been thinking about. Action. Yeah. All the things we've been dreaming about and,
waiting on
through the Pisces season and even probably through the winter too. Now it's time to light that fire under your, tush and get on it.
I haven't used the word bum in a while, so light a fire under your bum. I like the word bum. I don't know why.
Let's see. We said another thing this is about is passion and love and lust. It goes along with fertility because we're going to be making little babies.
Yeah, this is the starting season for connection and people meeting up and kind of like getting back out in the love world if you're single.
So get onto Tinder or whatever. Facebook dating, Match, eHarmony, JDate, whatever it is.
Get out. Okay, that's her idea. My idea is sign up for clubs where you might meet people who have similar interests as you.
Better. That's actually better.
So,
because the dating sites really suck. I know. I've tried them all, except for maybe JDate.
I've never even heard of that. JDate.
That's Jewish. It's a Jewish connection.
I like farmersonly.com or whatever it is.
Farmersonly.com.
I'm pretty sure that's real. I'm pretty sure there was a commercial for it. Yes.
Seriously?
I'm serious. It's great.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
Well, and now I don't have one for just cowboys because cowboys are kind of,
That's the Tinder for cowboys. It's called Rancher. Those are our ideas for the dating scene, I guess. But it can also be within a relationship, right? If you guys have been stuck in the house a lot and you've just been, I don't know, too close for comfort. It's like you need some space. You need to spend a day apart and then get together and go out on a date and enjoy yourselves like you're living a regular life. That's also that lust and passion and rebirthing the love that may have gone cold during winter.
And the lust and the passion could be about something in your life and not necessarily romance.
Well, that's with action, right?
Not necessarily
passion
romance.
And action.
Yeah. So,
Aries season.
What are you feeling passionate about right now?
Cleaning.
Spring cleaning.
I have really been cleaning. Well, last year was really hard. It's no secret. I've talked about this since January. Like last year really did a number on me and I let so many things go. Like my back porch garden was just overgrown like you would not believe. And I couldn't commit the time to it. Even watering became hard for me. And that's just crazy because that means they're dying and that's not what I want. So I started with some of these projects that I've just not had the time, energy, mental space for. And now I do because I've got, my mother-in-law is taken care of. My kid has graduated and he's pretty much taken care of himself. And there you go. Now now
you got your life back.
Now I can do things that I've been wanting to do, which is I cleaned out my cleaning closet. I know that's a weird one, but the cleaning closet, man, shit just started getting shoved in there.
Yeah.
Spare bedroom, I cleaned up and sorted out and got rid of stuff. And
your whole entire back porch.
My whole back porch.
Huge.
It's huge. It's a very large back porch.
It's like 3 rooms.
Yeah,
it's the size of like 3 rooms.
It has a whole dining area, and then it's got a place where my husband does a smoker thing, and then we've got our own little patio area with like our chairs and tables.
It's one long.
And then it's just got plants all the way across it. So every single plant needed touching and tending to. It was a lot of work.
I know. I cleaned my lanai last weekend too. It was here in Florida, if you don't regularly sweep or wash things down, everything gets covered with this fine layer of dance. I don't know.
It's dust
It's
and
dust and
pollen,
pollen
some
and
sea salt,
sand. I don't know, limestone.
Whatever's
or
kicked up in the
something.
air.
Yeah, everything.
All the new
everything
construction
that's kicked up in the air.
Yeah. Every
Cars
time somebody
driving by.
mows, it's like
Yeah. So it was really, like you could draw your name.
and the dust is so bad
on the table. You couldn't see it unless because of the color of the table, but it really needed attention. So I spent last weekend doing that. So I always find it interesting how I get in these modes to do things like do my whole new wall in my living room. I did that a couple of weeks ago, and then realized, it's like, that creative thing, and how I realized later after I've gotten this spark of inspiration and done, I was like, oh, hey, that aligns with what's going on right now with the energy of
the season.
With the season.
Yeah.
So I'm always surprised when I make that connection. Maybe because I'm new at this, you probably do it automatically.
Yeah.
After 25 plus years of.
It's like I know that time is coming, so I'm like, I know that's going to happen. I know that energy is going to be there for me, just waiting, and I'm going to pick it up and run with it. So, 100%. That's what I do. And then I just wait for it all to come together, and then I exert myself, and then I need a day of rest because I go hard. I'm one of those people who's like, I'm all in, and I do not want to stop until it's completely done. So I was on the back porch, had all of the overhead lights on because it was so dark I couldn't see anything. And I finally gave up because I put the extra pots and like the succulents that I was going to repot outside. And I was like, okay, I'm done. But the back porch is done. Right. But like, there is still a little bit of mess on the outside of my back porch going down the stairs.
Yeah.
I haven't got to it yet. It was 2 days ago. So sometimes you create more.
I think another thing about this time is planning. Is there any planning in here?
It's not so much planning because our planning time would have been more in the dark part. The other thing that is really cool to mention that not a lot of people talk about, that I've always practiced this way, but I don't ever see it anywhere, hear it anywhere. When I think about the year in a cycle, I have the light half of the year and the dark half of the year. So if you haven't heard that before, welcome to my concept, or I know it's out there somewhere because I didn't come up with it on my own. I don't think so. But you have from one equinox until another one where you're in the more daylight hours, and then it switches to where it's more nighttime hours. And it's not actually the equinox, it's the solstices. But however you want to do it, if you want to do it from equinox to equinox, solstice to solstice, either way, you can kind of carve out the year in that time of like, okay, from this holiday to this holiday, that's the light half of the year for me. So this is when I put in all my energy into projects. This is when I do a lot of things. This is action, passion, action, passion. And then the dark half of the year is more about that rest, recovery, reflection.
Planning.
Definitely
for
the planning phase. Yeah.
Planning for the next.
Yeah.
For the next season.
Right. And we can always look at it as like, we can use the same words that, people in the past use, like we're planning for the next harvest. That just means what goals are we trying to reach that we can reap the benefits from. So you can still say things like that, like, oh, what's my next harvest?
Harvest doesn't necessarily mean you're growing squash.
Yeah.
Or tomatoes.
I'm gonna grow squash. I every year it gets eaten. I don't know what to do about that. I feed more bugs than I do myself, so I don't know. Because I don't want to kill
your tomatoes.
I showed you that picture, right?
What picture?
Of the half-eaten tomato on my couch. You guys, I have some wacky animals. All right, I definitely have like possums and squirrels and flying squirrels and rabbits.
She's got 13. Okay, so behind her house, directly on her property line behind, is 13 acres of undeveloped property. It's like is it designated as nature preserve?
It's something like that. I was almost at sanctuary, but it's not. It's a line for. Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah,
protecting nature preserve.
Anyway,
like
13 acres. So all these
private land, by the way, it's private.
Yeah, so all these animals, wild animals, bobcats and possums and raccoons.
The raccoons are big. All the birds and just
birds and everything. And
yeah.
so
it's great.
So this.
And then, all right, so we have this massive tomato plant. It's been producing tomatoes. It's wonderful. It's awesome. Sometimes I leave them out. If they're already too far gone, like, or if a bug has gotten into them, I just chuck them into the preserve. I'm like, something will eat it. Well, now they've gotten used to their tomato supply. If I haven't chucked any back there yet, which I haven't because we've been picking them, sooner. They came and picked one off the tree. They walked about 1,000 feet to my outdoor couch, got up on the couch and then ate the tomato on the couch and just left like the bottom half of it.
They ate all the end. They like ate
but
the
they like
innards
got
out.
on the couch to eat it. I thought that was so funny. I'm like, you just really
They
made
were like
yourself
totally like
comfortable.
chilling on your couch eating a
Yep.
tomato. Yeah.
If I could have, I need so many wildlife cameras because if I could have seen that, imagine them like they're carrying it in their mouth. They walk over there, they just get up, like I'm picturing a raccoon, and then it's just like, you know, like, and this is one of those white garden, you know, couches. So it's an outdoor couch and the whole flower print on it and stuff. It would literally look like something from a movie. Like he picked a tomato and went over there and ate it.
That would be so cool just to get that on camera.
I don't know. He's like, I need somewhere comfortable to enjoy this tomato. So,
okay, so we've told you some keywords for this holiday concepts. Yep. There's also things in particular that you can do to celebrate, honor. Some things that are associated with it are fires, like bonfires, creating outdoor sacred spaces like altars and things like that. So like now we're getting out of the house with our altars and we can go and make them in our garden. Divination. This is a time for divination.
Because this is about growth. I just want to clarify like what kind of divination, right? We could say divination at any holiday, but because this one is about like increasing strength or growing in something, the divination could be, you know, what is it that I need to focus on growing? You know, maybe you have like 10 ideas and you're like, I need to really fine tune this. I need to bring it down to like maybe
something
2.
I can manage. Yeah.
So divination for that on like where you're going, where you're growing to, that would be helpful during this season's time.
I'm going to do a tarot card spread
for
this.
For growing.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, I'd like to know what to do for the next 6 months with myself. What do I focus on?
Okay. What are you growing in the next 6 months?
What am I growing in the next 6 months? I don't know.
Time to reflect and think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we should have been doing like in February for Involve.
Well, I am taking out my above ground pool by the end of this month. And so that's going to open up my backyard. And I already told Jamie my vision of like at the far end of the yard, I want to plant 3 fruit trees. And then I want to put in two raised beds to grow vegetables and stuff in. So that's all. That's my plan right now. So, but the pool has to go first.
Yeah.
So then there's divination. And like what do you focus on? Gardening, of course.
Of any kind.
Any kind of gardening. I've been doing a lot of that over the last month or so. My back, like Jamie's patio or whatever. Your lanai. My lanai had all these plants in it that were outgrowing their pots and stuff like that. So I took them outside and I put them in the garden because I want to really fill the garden up with all kinds of different stuff. And I try to put them in a place where they'll have some shade because it's going to get really hot here in like 3 months. So I hope they'll make it. So gardening.
Can I share what I did for gardening?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right, you guys. I got the rare opportunity to become a Florida pollinator ambassador. Is that how I said it? I wanted to say Florida native, but that's not it. But I'm a certified. I'm 1 in 60 in the state. They just started this program. So we had our first class. This was a week and a half ago, 2 Thursdays ago, because we had to do the live on a Wednesday. So now I'm officially a pollinator ambassador, and my little motto is going to be, I speak for the pollinators. You know how it's like in the Lorax, I speak for the trees. So now I'm going to be, I speak for the pollinators. And as a now certified educator, I can go out into communities, to schools, to neighborhoods, to HOAs, and I can help them learn about planting stuff that is better for pollinators rather than just, this is what you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot, or this is like what the builders put in, and, you know, plants that don't really support life. So that is what I did. I'm very proud of myself.
She spent a whole day up there and came home with so much information, so much information, a huge book of stuff. I think you paid what, $50?
I paid $50 for this course.
$50 for the course, and just came home with like volumes of information and certification.
Information. They gave us a book that was written by one of the professors it's the University of Florida that puts this on. So if anybody is a UF fan, they do an amazing job with landscaping and helping people figure out what to do with plants down here, and then pollinators and nature preserves and everything. I went to USF, but I am no hater. I will definitely be. I love UF as well. But that was something that I did because I want to help other people get into caring for the earth, caring about something to do with the earth. You just need one little in. Once somebody's like, I love butterflies, how can I have more of those? They're going to learn to love butterflies more. And then they're going to see like other things that benefit it. And so now they're going to want to grow these other plants that are native, and it's just going to continue. Like, I feel like it's that snowball effect. Once they learn one thing and they get hooked on it, and it's like, what's the next thing I learned? What else don't I know about this? Let's do more.
Hey, I did my part. I want you to know.
Yeah.
Somebody in one of my Facebook groups posted a picture of a place in their yard, and they're like, I have this space. What do I do with it? I want to plant stuff that flowers here. I told them to go to the Florida Native Nursery out on Fruitville, take a picture of it, and then ask them for help for what to plant there. Because the thing about Florida is, if you try to grow grass here, it requires a lot of chemicals and a lot of water.
Yep.
And so it's better for the environment here if we move away from grass and get to a natural state in our yards as much as we can.
Yeah. And it lasts longer. You don't have to water. You don't need pesticides or chemicals or tons of fertilizer. The fertilizer is what makes the red tide, and too much nitrogen. So nitrogen will help grow something, but only for a short amount of time, because then when the nitrogen runs out, the plant's like, meh.
So if you're not from Florida and you don't know what red tide is when the pollutants from like off of Lake Okeechobee drain down into the Gulf of Mexico, and then it kills the fish. And it stinks. The water stinks, not just from the dead fish are like all over the beach, over on the beach. And then the water smells bad. And also it makes your throat, there's like stuff in the air that makes you, your throat
coughing,
tickles and you're coughing and stuff.
A little bit,
it's
awful.
awful.
How bad it is. Yeah.
So the more that we can do here to stop to try to prevent that from happening or minimize it, because we probably can't prevent it completely because of all the agriculture that's in Central Florida. And
then there's also the water usage. A lot of us here use well water. We have huge amounts of water, beneath us. But as we tap into them and we use them excessively, they're not replenishing themselves fast enough. So the whole water shortage thing is getting a little real, having to dig new, deeper well trenches. And
of course, they're building everywhere. So there's seems to be no control on where they won't build new houses for people to move. And then they wipe out whole forests.
Ecosystems.
Yeah, they wipe it all out and build freaking concrete, put up concrete. And they don't leave any of the trees. I just don't understand why they don't leave some of the trees.
Because they're not manageable, because they're messy, because they're not this, they're not that.
They don't look pretty.
So this is a passion of ours, because this is how we, as a witch, this is something that's truly important to me, is the earth and everything that belongs to the earth. It doesn't belong to us. I don't feel like we own land, we own a house, great. But there's so many other things that existed before we ever moved in. I have 2 pine trees in my yard, you guys, that are 250 years old. I'm like, they've been here longer than we've been a country, so thinking about it in those terms where we can really see stuff that's valuable, that's going to be here long after us, that we need to help, keep it going, I guess you could say. That's the best way.
Preserve it. Yeah.
Protect it. Protect it, preserve it, support it, all those things. And with insects of all kinds, because you know what? The number one pollinator in the US is definitely a bee. It doesn't mean it's a what am I trying to say? Honeybee. It doesn't mean it's a honeybee, because we have lots of native bees. There's over 4,000 bees here. In Florida alone, we have 340 different bees. But the second most popular pollinator that you would never think of is a fly. So flies actually pollinate a lot of stuff. And most people are like, screw flies. Flies
are just a nuisance.
Yeah, but they're very important for the food system, right? Everything that needs to be pollinated, that needs to have transfer.
Well, I think you discovered when you were trying to control pests in your yard that if you just let them go, that that the pests, there's a balance when with the pests, because they do things. It's a whole ecosystem of the different pests that you have in a garden or in a yard.
Yes.
And I just want to say, from the woods of Maine, in Maine.
From the woods of Maine?
What's the name?
Maine.
Bridgeton one?
I don't know where I'm looking.
At the bottom one, very bottom one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So hello from Maine.
Hello.
Ooh, the woods in Maine sounds so witchy to me.
That's like Oregon and Washington. I love those states too. I haven't got to explore a lot of other places yet, but that's because we don't like cold, so we don't go north much. we'll have to only enjoy summers up there. But where were we going with that?
We were
You
talking.
sidetracked me with Maine.
Well,
because now I'm thinking about vacation.
Well, we were talking about gardens and the ecosystems of gardens and how when you try to control one pest in your garden, it kind of messes up the balance.
It does.
And so what Jamie learned in trying to control, I don't know, aphids or something like that.
Aphids,
it was aphids.
It was aphids.
What she learned from that is like some plants are going to get ate by the aphids, and that's what's supposed to happen because the aphids are supporting something else, and it's like this whole cycle, which is just so cool when you think about like it's a cycle, and it's a
balance,
and
it's truly the balance,
and this is I feel passion, I feel a real passion for this in my witchiness, and my witchiness, because when I came to Florida, I became a grower, I became a plant person. I really didn't.
You saw opportunity.
I did.
And she had a good nurturer.
I had somebody that could answer questions and kind of that I could try to emulate because her yard is fabulous. And she just keeps.
I work very hard.
She's working on getting out most of the grass or all of the grass from your front yard.
Not the backyard.
The front yard.
Yeah, my whole front yard. I just want the grass gone. I just want to have Florida native plants or Florida friendly plants. Like that's it. That's all I want. Dang it! There was a thing in my head, and now it's gone.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I broke
It'll
your
come
train
back.
It'll come back. I apologize.
No, it's I don't know what it was about.
Well, so I'll just say that another thing about this time of year is that you can do is like purify and protect. So protection, and even animals. But this is a good time for like this. It's a good time for the spring cleaning.
Yeah.
And
that's purifying. That's cleansing.
Clean out the closets
physically and energetically.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, you open the windows, fresh air, and all of that stuff.
Beware of the pollen.
We haven't talked about eggs and egg hunts.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you guys, I have two favorite stories for Ostara that I learned a long time ago when the internet was like a dial-up and there weren't books on this stuff yet, okay? Because I had to know, and the only way to do it was to research online. I first want to tell you about like a lot of the stuff you see in the stores right now for Easter, and even the word Easter is similar or a translation to Ostara. And if you look at when Easter falls, the Christian Easter, they made it on such a way that it could never happen on the same day that Ostara truly happens. Okay, so they had to make sure that it moved so that these two holidays were close enough, because in order to incorporate and bring people together, they needed to like blend these things. So that's why you'll see a lot of the pagan influence in the Christian culture, because why not, right? Like they want to help people see things in their own way, and they'll relate it to whatever story they can. But the egg is a symbol and has been a symbol for like forever of fertility, right? Like we have little eggs in us as women, like there's huevos for guys. So the whole system of like an egg and something coming out of the egg, there's the cosmic egg idea. If you don't know about that, look that up. It's super interesting. But the egg is a symbol of fertility, and it doesn't always mean fertility like with growth or birth. It can mean wealth, the fertility of wealth, ideas, inspiration. And eggs used to be given as presents to say, I hope your crops are good. So I love this story. The egg hunt originates from when people were transitioning between Christian and pagan and Christian, just kind of figuring things out. And new sheriffs would come into town. When I say sheriffs, that's a loose term for like whoever decided what laws were going to be in the town. But as people were in these towns and transitioning, and people still wanted to practice the old ways, the pagan ways, giving eggs was a symbol of like, we believe the same thing. That became like outlawed. That became like a no-no, because then people knew you were a pagan, right? So instead of, they used to display their eggs, because somebody would like decorate an egg and give it to the person, and then they would display them on their window sills or somewhere to show like the abundance of friends that support them in their goals, their garden, whatever. All right, so when it started to become a bad thing to be a pagan, they had to start hiding the eggs or keeping them out of sight so that nobody could see that they were practicing, paganism, witchcraft, whatever. It wasn't called witchcraft back then, but it was just practicing the old religion, because pagan literally means from the old country. All right. So the new sheriff in town, guess what he did? He's like, hey kid, I'll give you a piece of candy or a coin if you go around and tell me whose gardens have eggs in them. So that is how the egg hunt got started, is that instead of displaying the egg like at the front of the house, they would then put it in the place where they wanted the fertility, the growth, the whatever. And that would a lot of times be in their garden because, again, that's survival. That's their food source. That's their winter storage. So the kids started being little creepers and going around being like, oh, I saw an egg in their garden. They were hunting eggs. They didn't take them, but they hunted them. So once the pagans found this out, guess what they did? They would leave a treat or a coin under the egg. So if the kid found the egg and they picked it up, it's like, oh, well, I won't tell him this guy because he left me something. And there we have the egg hunt. Isn't it so cool? I love that story. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love that story. Okay. The next story is about why eggs are really connected to a bunny. Why the hell does a bunny lay Easter eggs? Anybody have a question on? Do we ever like wonder? I'm like, that's very weird. I remember commercials as the what is it? Cadbury bunny. I'm like, this doesn't make sense in the animal world. I was like, I know animals. Like if it was a platypus doing this and we had like the Easter platypus, maybe. But we had an Easter bunny and that's not the animal laying eggs. So the story goes for this, and there are many versions of it, but this is the version that I first learned and that I retell. Ostara is actually the goddess of spring. So imagine her like coming upon the winter world. And as she walks through, everything behind her is growing and green, and she kind of brings things back to life. It's important to know that part first. So now we're going to talk about the little bird who fucked off too much. Okay. It's a story about procrastination. Little bird, he wanted to go around and make friends and play. And everyone was like, he goes to the squirrel and the squirrel's like, no, I've got this work to do. Like winter is coming. I love that. Cause now Game of Thrones, right? Winter is coming. And so, and then he would go to his next friend. He'd go to like the badger. He's like, hey, you want to play? You want to do this? No, I've got to prepare for winter. So all of these animals were preparing for winter, and I'm making this like shorter than normal. But the little bird who was Mrs. Procrastination or just want to have fun all the time, maybe, they didn't prepare. And then when all the birds left, because they were like, we got to get going. It's time for winter. He's like, everything's fine here. What are you talking about? Winter's not going to be here. We have time. Procrastination. Then guess what? Winter came and the little bird had nowhere to go. It couldn't survive in the winter realm. And it tried to go to the squirrel, but the squirrel was hibernating. It tried to go to the badger, but the badger was underground. So all of these other animals, right? But what was alive and able to hop around and find stuff in the snow? Bunnies. So the day before Ostara gets there, the bird has survived barely all winter, just off crumbs and, maybe friends giving him a little bit, but he is like on his deathbed, laying in the path, freezing to death, just like, it's done, I'm over. And Ostara, the goddess, comes upon him and says, little bird, what are you doing? And he admits that he messed around too often. And would she please save him? Please, I won't do this again. Like I learned my lesson. And she goes, I'm sorry, I can't save your physical body. That's not my magic. But what I can do is transform you into something else. And so she transformed the little bird into a bunny. And that is why the little bunny lays eggs, because he's still a bird inside. Transformation. Okay.
I've never heard that story.
But do you notice how I always say him? I always make the bird a male, and the male birds don't lay eggs. I don't know why I do that. So I guess it was a her. She was procrastinating. But I don't like to admit that because I was quite a procrastinator.
Because you might have
been
that little bird.
My mom used to say I was a professional lollygagger when I was little. Like always lollygagging. Lollygagger. So I am Lollygagger Jamie. That's who I am. Not anymore. I do better now, but that is the story of, so now you have Ostara, the goddess, and what she does. She's waking up the earth and she's bringing things back to life and she's making it safe for creatures to come out.
So I can literally see that. I can just see her walking.
Right.
And then on the path where everything's like brown and dead. And as she walks, it comes to life. It's like a cartoon.
It is. I feel like there's a Disney movie that might do this, like Moana or something. Yeah. I love this story so much. It's how I've always thought of the goddess Ostara. And springtime is also about Persephone and Demeter, if you guys know that story or mythology. And that is about, Demeter getting her daughter back, Persephone, who is in the underworld with Hades. And when she comes back, Demeter, who's in charge of like livestock and growth and all of that, family life, hearth, home, she decides she will save humanity because when Persephone got stolen, she basically went into like a depression. And so that's why the earth falls into winter. So this is Greek mythology?
Greek mythology.
Greek mythology. And so that's why the earth falls into winter in that pantheon. And so when she gets Persephone back, when Persephone comes back up, so Persephone is the goddess of spring, but queen of the underworld. So she is that true goddess of dark and light. Like that's her cycle, which is why she's my favorite. This was my Persephone crown that I made 5 years ago for Halloween. It's so pretty. I still like it. I don't remember when I made this one or for what, but Persephone, if you want to get into that story, that's also a really good one for spring. I just love that one because it's about a mother-daughter, thing. And her daughter got stolen. This is where the pomegranate comes in. She had a seed from the fruit of the underworld. And so that's how she became the queen down there. Yeah. It's a cool story. So those two things kind of go together.
Yeah.
But those are my two absolute favorite stories. They can be longer. You can elaborate with them. If you want to tell them to your kids or your friends or anything, like put more into it. These stories were passed down. So there are many versions of them and nothing is really wrong about it. All you need to do is make it to where there's this transition and sort of a moral to the story. Don't procrastinate. Or something. Like there's a point to this. They would tell the children. Don't
procrastinate or you get turned into a bunny.
Yes, you will.
But you'll really be a bird.
Yeah, you'll be an egg-laying bunny. Okay, you'll just be the weird one. It's like, well, here's my question: does she have to mate with other birds or bunnies? Like, what? That's why it's not real. Okay, because there's not, because science wouldn't allow that to truly happen. But yeah, those are my favorite. Ostara. It's my favorite holiday because I think Easter is so visually appealing with all of the cute and fluffy new animals and like all of the bright colors and just things coming back to life.
Yeah.
I think is my soul lights up for Ostara for sure.
I love it.
I hope you guys enjoed the stories. Thank you, Linda.
They did. There's like notes in here about a great story. Interesting.
Tracy says lollygaggers unite. Yes. Team of lollygaggers. Just with some stuff. It's not everything, but some stuff for sure. For sure. Yeah. So we really don't have much else to talk about for this holiday. Just to remember, and please pass this on to any new witches you might know also, holidays are not just one day like in the real world. Yeah. In witch world, holidays are seasons. And so we take the time out to do things over several weeks. It's not all pressure on one day. It's not, you must do this, you have to. Yeah. There's so much pressure put on us to just be there in that one day. Well, what the hell do you do with the rest of the time? No, it's a season. It's a season of growth. It's a season towards moving towards something else, which is a good time to mention from Ostara, where are we going? We're going into the holiday of Beltane. And Beltane is the fire holiday that is all about sex. Sex with fairies, sex with magical creatures. Just kind of. But
well, I think I know what I'm going to be planning.
That's when you got pregnant with me. Remember, I'm a Beltane baby.
You are a Beltane baby.
So people who were born in like that February time frame, Beltane babies. Their parents were like, we're feeling the season of sex with Beltane, May 1st. Getting out there. Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this little Ostara, the beginning of the season.
Yes,
celebration.
Yeah.
Do what you can. Don't feel pressured to do anything. No. If this isn't your year, but if it is.
Yeah, because like last year.
Yeah. No. If it is, find a way to celebrate the season and honor the earth. Yeah. I think that's the big thing is, I feel like that honoring the earth is a big part of witchcraft for me. Anyway.
For me too, yeah. It's definitely a huge thing. Yeah. Well, we love you all. We're so glad to be here with you tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend. And, hey, if you want to comment under this video on like what you decided to do with your time, we read every single comment, just so you know. We love to hear what you guys are doing. And when this video ends, we get to go back through all the comments too, because we can't read them while we're live, but we love hearing from you guys. It makes us feel like we're not alone. And hopefully it makes you feel like you're not alone. So we will see you next time. Next time. Bye, you guys.
Bye.